The party smells the acrid odor long before entering its foul chamber. To the DMs, good luck describing the smell of old batteries or burnt plastic without explicitly saying so. As the smell begins to overwhelm you, you turn a corner and find yourself looking upon a couple of things. The first to catch a player's eye is the shiny, copper catwalk that crosses a massive pit in the stone floor. Extending up from the pit through the metal steps of the catwalk is a shiny pole. It seems to continue on into a part of the craggy rocks which comprise the ceiling. And finally, your eyes trail downwards to the pit below the catwalk, where there are hundreds of vases lined up with greening, coppery wires extending out of their mouths. Presumably these are knitted together at the base of the pole, which, from the other side of the pit, can't be seen. There are also wires connecting the catwalk to where it meets the floor of the cave, just prior to the pit. Immediately, players can assume several things. They need the thing on the other side of the pit. The copper will shock you, for at least 20 points of electricity damage. And that pole! They take a second to examine their surroundings. They'll learn of the hinges which connect the catwalk to the walls of the pit. These hinges turn on a horizontal axis when the catwalk is used. It is stepped, and they will soon notice the pole intersects the ladder-like steps of the catwalk. Trying to walk across the catwalk will make it shift to left and right. Eventually, you'll be thrown off and lose your balance. If it shifts too much to one side, the pole will be yanked from the ceiling by the tilting force of the hinged catwalk. So what's this all about? This is the meanest trap. Not because it can shock you or throw you into a pit full of primitive acid batteries, but because the ceiling is actually not the craggy mess of rocks that it seems. The rocks are iron ore, and this iron ore is attached to an electromagnet being charged by the massive amount of acid in the old batteries. When the charge ceases to reach the ceiling via the pole, the electromagnet is no longer magnetic, and so will drop the iron ore ceiling onto the catwalk, onto the pit of acid, and onto the players, if they're dumb enough to let this happen. So this does seem gratuitously mean. It seems like there's not a lot of choice, and it's just kind of a massive gotcha to players, but nuh-uh. I like to trick them, but this is a bridge too far even for the meanest DMs. This is what I would call a distraction trap. It's so mechanically elaborate that it's initially assumed there is some sort of elaborate diffusion method. Players can rope, fly, or even attempt to jump across this 80-foot chasm with no consequences. I'm not going to prevent them from doing that. They don't have to use the catwalk to cross the pit. But of course, the prize on the other side is a part of the trap, and when claimed will trigger a counterweight that will tilt the floor beneath the vases about 20-25 degrees, enough to cause a domino effect as they all tip over, spewing their acid and dropping their wires. And eventually, they cease to provide current to the electromagnet holding up the ceiling rocks. This way, the ignoramus who thought they could just cast fly and claim the prize is punished, and hopefully the rest of the party is left intact. The best way to solve this trap, though, at least my favorite solve, is simply to set it off. My players are pretty smart, and they just destroyed the pole and crossed the rubble after the ceiling collapsed. However, I'm still a dirty boy because the counterweight tilting the floor also causes the massive pieces of rubble to shift. So ha! This trap can be handled safely by setting it off from a distance and avoiding the rubble pit when the prize is claimed. Any sort of logic or playing or intuition should tell the players they're in a large amount of danger, and likewise, hopefully, they'll treat it as such. And to my knowledge, this trap is OC. If you can't tell, I'm pretty proud of myself, so use this on your players. Let me know how it goes. It's not just supposed to be a gotcha. I think it's a pretty cool kind of atmospheric trap that if they set it off, they're now in another trap that they're not even aware of, and I think the twofold approach to trapping people is pretty cool. As always, Internet, thank you for watching. This has been Lizard with the Gold Star World Builders Club. Out.
Yo, even with hundreds of cells producing one volt apiece, there's absolutely no way you can hold up that much higher. This is not a realistic trap, it's just purely for fun. Have a good time.